What's up, everyone? Shakiel Mahjouri here for CBS Sports, and you know who this is. He is a WWE Hall of Famer and three-time world champion, ahead of Biography WWE Legends Eddie Guerrero, premiering Sunday on A&E. And I did the math. A man who has more masks than I do months on the planet Earth. Before, since, and in the future, Rey Mysterio. How's it going?
Very good, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for doing this. Now, obviously, we're going to talk a lot about Eddie, about your career. Before we get there, I would like to get this out of the way because it's at the top of mind. We are not too far removed from Backlash, which would mark, I think, 21 years since the Big Show grabbed your stretcher strapped body and hurled you into a ring post like a baseball bat. Can you please just walk me through what was going through your mind before, during, and immediately after that sequence?
Well, I remember we had gone over it, and that was the plan. So apparently, when I was strapped onto the stretcher, everything seemed cool. I said, "How much can it hurt?" The stretcher's hitting first. I'm attached to it, so I won't feel it. Well, we never thought about what's happening when you hit because of the weight. There's no way Big Show was going to hit the pole and hold on to me. So that whole weight and the momentum, as soon as he hit, I went straight down. And as I was strapped onto the stretcher, my head just went boop, and I hit first. That hurt. That within itself hurt very much.
For someone who's made a career out of taking break falls, no opportunity for it there. Kind of, I was just kind of looking through your history, and this match came up that kind of sort of blew my mind thinking about it in the current context. In 2002, you wrestled Eddie Guerrero, but not just Eddie. There was a three-way dance between you, him, and CM Punk. What were you? I mean, I don't know how much you and Eddie and Punk talked about it, but what were your impressions of Punk during the match? Did you and Eddie have any thoughts about working with him so early in his career after the fact?
Well, I had already crossed paths with Eddie back in Mexico and in
Yeah.
WCW. Eddie during that time was away from WWE and was getting ready to return to WWE. It was my first time meeting and working with Punk,
Yes.
and overall, we just there was a connection, an immediate connection, and we were all on the same page. We wanted to have a good match. We wanted to put it out there, and I never would have thought that Punk was going to end up in WWE after some time. Obviously, that's our goal. So stupid of me of not even thinking that maybe one day, but overall, um, I was getting ready to sign with WWE because I
Mm.
I signed shortly a couple months after. But when you put a match together and we're all in that spirit of working and putting on a good show for the fans, that's when things come out to a T. And that was that style of match. I enjoyed very much working with Punk. Obviously, with Eddie, I've always enjoyed being in the ring with him. But to be able to pull some of the moves that we did that night, especially being uh, the first time working with Punk and him being there, it just felt like everything was on point that night. I enjoyed that night very much, and every now and then go back and revisit that match.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's such an interesting little like wrinkle in time. Obviously, you and Eddie had such a storied history, but like you said, he's in between WWE runs. You're getting ready to sign. Who
yeah,
knew Punk was going to become what he became? And that's, I think, what the magic of pro wrestling really
yeah,
encapsulates.
truly.
We have this biography special on Eddie Guerrero coming up, and one thing that's really stood out to me is, 20 years after his passing, the spirit of Eddie Guerrero is still so alive and strong in pro wrestling, whether it's through his friends and family, Viva la Raza playing when when LWO comes out, the three amigos that you see all over the world. As a close friend of his, how does it make you feel to see that Eddie Guerrero's spirit is still like very much strong and alive in pro wrestling?
Oh, I feel an enormous amount of pride and to a certain degree, I feel like I need to do that representation as well. The bond that Eddie and I had, that connection was uh incredible. It was beautiful, not only in the ring, but outside of the ring. And I probably have to say that outside of the ring was even deeper, and the knowledge that I received from him was enormous and beautiful. But I feel a large amount of pride every time that the fans uh, yell out the Eddie chant, or like you said, "Viva la Raza." It's beautiful to know that his presence is still around and will be around until wrestling dies, which will be never.
What was it like for you going through this biography series, sort of reliving some of the moments that you shared with Eddie through your career?
I enjoyed very much, and I reminisced on so many moments, so many experiences that I had for the first time, and the knowledge, that Eddie not only passed on to me, but to so many, the inspiration that he was to many, including myself. You know, um, this is a good way to remember Eddie and to enjoy those moments that we only get to see now when we look for them, or when things pop up here and there. But this is a full documentary on what he brought to wrestling and what he represented, not only for lucha libre, but for wrestling around the world.
I was reading that the day of his passing, there was that joint Raw SmackDown taping. You wrestled Shawn Michaels on Monday Night Raw. I read that you had given a speech to the live audience at some point that evening, and that at the end of the speech, sort of discreetly, sort of took off your mask in honor of Eddie. I was wondering if you could share to me what the significance is of taking off your mask in that moment to honor him.
So the mask in lucha libre is very sacred. It's something that we protect and we cherish, especially when it's within generations of family. When it's generational and you're carrying the name of either your father or someone that came before you, in my case, Rey Mysterio Sr., Rey Mysterio Jr., you even protect that, with your life pretty much. Um, but I remember during that incident, I just felt like I wanted the fans to hear Rey Mysterio, but I also wanted them to, in a way, knew who was behind the mask and the feelings that I felt, because the connection that I had with Eddie in the ring was beautiful, incredible. But the connection that we had outside of the ring was even deeper.
Well, I thank you for sharing and kind of your willingness to open up. Um, what would Eddie say about Dominik Mysterio's run and his development? I mean, obviously you see some of the parallels, even sort of like the Rhea Dom parallel to China and Eddie. That's one that always I got a kick out of.
I have to say this, and my wife is gonna kill me, but I've told her several times, I said, "Did you ever cheat on me with Eddie? Because Dom, I don't know." She goes, "Yeah, and I never told you." I said, "No, no, I truly believe that Eddie is getting a kick out of this, and to a certain degree, Eddie has been in Dominic's corner from the beginning. You know, it's very special, and it's very um sentimental as well to to see my son's growth, and to see every now and then like a little bit of Eddie-ish in his character and his development and the way he carries himself. And to a large degree, there's a lot of pride when I see him, and there's just, it reminds me so much of moments that I lived with Eddie myself, just watching him work. There's no comparison in the works. I'm just talking about
Yeah.
just little snitches and stuff that he does that is just so Eddie-ish. And it can be as simple as the mullet, and sometimes when I see pictures of him, it just like, wow, it's just scary.
You recently talked about, how much Dominik's really come into his own since linking up with the Judgment Day. I am curious. I don't know how much you pay attention to this sort of stuff, but I had just gotten back into pro wrestling when you and Dominik were working together, and there were a lot of people being very critical, very harsh of Dominik at the time. Was any of that reaching your ears, and how did it feel as a father sort of seeing Dominik deal with that, knowing full well that, this is the life of a rookie in pro wrestling?
I told this to my son before he even started, and not only me, I know one of his trainers, Lance Storm, when he was up in Canada training. He told him as well that there will be a lot of comparisons that are going to be made between you and your father. You just let him come in one side and let him out the other, and you stick to your path, you stick to your growth, and you do what you believe is the best thing for you. Take advice. At the end of the day, you dissect the advice and you figure it out. So I've never really paid attention to negativity in my career and in my life. I've always kind of just pushed that aside or just shake it off. And I do remember telling Dom a couple of times, hey, just keep going, keep going and do what you feel is right. Obviously, when he joined the Judgment Day, a lot of the advice was no longer coming from me.
Mm-hmm.
We were separate and he was doing his thing. And I think that was probably the best thing that could have happened because he didn't have his dad yapping in his ear, telling him, try this, try that. He was figuring it out on his own, which is what should be done. When you let your kids off the leash and they're taking off, you expect them to find growth and figure it out. And I think Dom, in a way, the people that surround you make a huge impact on your life. And he was surrounded by great people, Finn, Damien, and the people that he was working as well, Usos, Roman, Edge, all of these people that gave him advice, and he was able to take the right ones and kind of just ignore the negativity that was being brought up.
How did you keep a straight face as Dominik told the police, "My mom hit mommy"?
It was hard. It was hard. We might have to shot that like two or three times, but
That's
it's
funny.
hard. Again, things that he's done that obviously, and my wife is like this. My wife sometimes, if there's a conversation going on, she has the correct response in the tip of her tongue and she just lets it out, and we all start cracking up. Dom is like that, and I remember him being in the back of the cop car and him just screaming out the window, telling mommy, "I'm not gonna make it in jail. Get me out." Like stuff like that, you can't write. It's it just there's something there.
If not Dominik, let's just exclude him from the conversation for 1 second. Whenever the retirement match does come, is there anyone else who kind of sticks out as a great last opponent for you?
Hmm. Uh, wow, you caught me off guard with that one. Um,
Throw a little bit of everything at you this
yeah,
interview.
yeah. I mean, obviously the perfect scenario, Dom would be the right person, and not necessarily to retire me, but to put what matters the most
Mm-hmm.
for me on the line, and that's my mask. Something that I would be willing to do. But if I had to pick another opponent out there, uh, I truly believe that because we tap into our roots, uh, Santos Escobar would be a person that I would most definitely would love to face.
You said recently that you still feel those jitters every show, even on the non-televised ones. And the day that you don't feel those jitters is the day to put that mask on the line. Let's say those jitters never go away. Are there any other sort of factors that you kind of consider?
I think the only factor would be, and I said this at the Hall of Fame speeches, is uh, repaying my wife for all those years that she had to sit at home on her own and look out for the kids, take them to school, take them to football practice, to cheerleading, make up for all that lost time, which you don't get back. The only thing you can do is repay with extra time.
Ray, you've been so generous with your time and the subject matter. Before I let you go, I do just want to ask you some off the cuff stuff, if that's okay.
Please.
First, we opened this with the big show. I have a few Rey Mysterio action figures, but there's one that's always sort of confused me, and I had the privilege of talking to Paul White about this as well. So here's the Giant, and here we have a tiny little Rey Mysterio with the extendo gadget neck. I can tell you, Big Show actually hates this. He thought it was very disrespectful of them to do this to you, but I would love to get your thoughts on this action figure.
I'll tell you what, that's probably one of my favorites, just
Yeah?
because it was one of the first ones that were released in WCW. So it was just a good time for me, the beginning to the success that I was soon to have in wrestling. So that action figure itself stands out just for the fact that they put me along with Big Show.
Uh, 5-year-old Shaq is very happy to have
Yeah.
checked that question off the bucket list. Do you have a favorite and least favorite mask from your 1100 plus collection?
So out of all the masks that I've had over the years, obviously they're all one of a kind pieces, but to me, the one that has the significance and represents all of them that I've worn is the Hall of Fame mask, the one I wore for the speech. That mask is just unbelievable. I was in love with that mask the moment I saw it, and I was hoping that it fit because it's not material that bends. It's literally like a helmet, and I kind of just slid it in, and it fit perfect. And I gotta thank Hayashi for his creation on that. He surprised me with that one. I wasn't expecting it.
Just two more. What's going? Because I just saw Adam Copeland talk about this recently. What's going through your mind as you're doing those pull-ups on the wooden shelf and it breaks? And
I'm all
you,
cool.
the way you toppled specifically is what sticks out.
So I'm waiting to hear uh the line. So once I know I have to come in, I'm just in full concentration. But I'm pulling and listening, and then all of a sudden, clap, down I go. And I don't know, it was such a memorable moment. At the same time, after the laughs came out, I'm like, okay. And I never thought that this was going to be used as a blooper. Obviously they did, and I thought it was a very cool moment, man. It was iconic for me.
John Cena's OG always gets a crack out of me. What a John Cena-esque thing to say. Okay, last one for you, Ray. I need your advice to finish this off. I managed to snag myself one of these limited edition Rey Mysterio cinnamon toast crunches. I'm of the understanding that there's a luchador mask in here. Do I keep it sealed and just kind of enjoy the collectible, or do I need to bust out the mask, wear it, and frog splash someone?
I would bust it out and kind of seal it afterwards, very professionally. You might want to get somebody to seal it for you so it looks good. But I
Best of
would pull
both
the
worlds.
mask out.
Okay, okay. A little shady, but I like it, Ray. Ray, I want to leave you with the last word. I'm very grateful for your time today. Guys, thanks so much for checking out the video. Subscribe, tap the bell, thumbs up, all that good stuff. Full feature with Rey Mysterio, CBS Sports. Check out Biography, WWE Legends, Eddie Guerrero, Sunday on A&E. Ray, if there's anything you want to tell the people, the floor is yours.
Just enjoy and remember Eddie for that lovable human being that he was. And I love the fact that his spirit will maintain alive forever.